this just because I don't feel like dealing with a really small window to show you what I want to talk about. So one of the things, if you get involved in controls, you're going to have to pay attention to and watch out for is syncing versus sourcing. On sensors, it's generally listed as NPN for syncing and PNP for sourcing, and it's from the point of view of whatever you're talking about. Just as an extra kick in the nuts, if you have a syncing input card, you have to have a sourcing sensor, and vice versa. I think that's why it works. I always screw it up. But basically, what it boils down to is either you're sending 24 volts to the PLC, or you're sending 0 volts to the PLC, and basically closing the connection down to ground. If you get them wrong, you run the risk of cooking the PLC or the other input. All of our PLCs, generally speaking here, are sourcing inputs, which means they want 24 volts in. So I guess you need a sourcing, I always have to work that out. I always screw that up. Our cards want 24 volts in. The robots want 0 volts in. Those robots. Now, you can buy different cards. Costs money. You got to toss things out and accept everything, or you got to start using relays to fundamentally switch stuff, right? Because I could use a relay and have the sensor close the relay and on the coil side, and on the other side of my relay, on the switching side, I can switch to whatever voltage signal needs to go to the input or output for that matter. But that's something you do have to pay attention to. I've been arguing with the robots on that. So that was most of last night. I thought I was doing so well. I got into the computer finally, and then I ran smack into that wall, and now I have to redo that little electrical box, control box cabinet that I've been working on again, because I need to make room for a lot of relays, it looks like. Which really sucks. One of the things we can do in Factory Talk View is create an object and have it somewhat reactive. I can have it react to me clicking on it, or I can have it react to a input state or even an output state. And so we could put a circle or a square or something on here, and when you push the start button, that lights up showing that the start button's been pressed. But I can also go beyond there. And it's under this animation option. And what I can do, depending on what it is I'm dealing with, I can change visibility, color, fill, position, size, rotation. What the hell is hyperlink?
Web browsing?
Web, yeah. That's what that would
On
have.
nature mods?
Well, what I'm trying to figure out is,
Why would you need that though?
well, we'll get to that in a minute. I think
That's what you.
when you touch it, well, let's try. Apparently, you don't need the HTTP. Yeah, see that? I'm not really sure what the hell that does. So hyperlink animation.
Just because a lot of people are late, so he
So yeah, it lets you link to a website apparently. So the reason you might want to have something like that is to get to a user manual,
Okay.
right? If you've got a maintenance screen, instead of maintaining all the files locally, you could point them directly to that PDF file as an example. That's newer. That's not always been there. I don't know when they added it, but I've not noticed that before.
What kind of web browser is it using?
It probably calls the default web browser.
Okay. It's IE for CE?
In this case, yeah, probably.
Incredibly limited.
And ugly and includes you on a good day and downhill from there. Yes. All very true.
Did you say work comes up in 3 days? Yeah.
So things like fill, I can simulate a tank being partially full or totally full or not full, and I can use the tag's min or max properties. I can use my own stuff. I can read from a tag potentially. I can control how full it is, and direction and some other things as well. And so I can create some stuff if I need to, but they also do have in libraries, tanks 2 maybe? Something like this. And then what you normally would do, let's do this. I'm going to add a slider.
Why is the cutout like that?
Hmm?
So why is the cutout like that? Just seems a little gratuitous.
It is.
Because
they
Rockwell.
All right, so I can come in and say it's vertical. Yeah. I can theoretically create an entire HMI that never actually talks to the PLC. No clue why the hell I would do that, but I could. The people that write the Iconics software, when they came and demoed stuff to me once upon a time, actually did that. So let's see. Close that for a minute. Back up to here. Tags. And I'm going to say this is a memory, and I can tell it is analog, 0 to 100, initial value 0, accept, close, slider, tags, tank level, apply, and then for this, I can come into here. And instead of doing this, I can tell it to look at, come on, catch up to me. Use that. And if I've done this right, and it's not a guarantee I did, no, I did not. That is what, all right, so let's see. If you apply a tag in the wrong place, you hit delete.
Yeah.
And you actually have to go into these objects and adjust things. Sometimes it is really a kind of a pain in the ass, I'll admit to it. so you can do this type of animation. Is there any logical reason for me to have it directly tied? No. But this might be controlling a proportional valve on the cart, and this might be the input showing me what my current level is. Does that make sense? All right. I could just as easily, once again, no logical reason to do this, but we can, so we shall. Patient, tank level, because I'm lazy. And you'll notice it's actually smart enough kind of know which way's up. Once again, why the hell you do it? You can. I can. I mean, while we're going after the ludicrous, we can also do this. Animation, horizontal position. And I think this is in, yeah, it's in pixels. So, if there is, and you know, there's times where it's logical to have that type of information. Maybe not for the tank to roll, but if you're showing an assembly, a conveyor, a lift station, showing it up or down, you can have it trigger off of a timer, and you can actually animate it coming up and going down, especially if it's not a very quick action. A little bit of creativity, you can show the boxes traveling on the conveyor. The curves are kind of a bitch. Because I can have the box physically rotate, that's easy enough. But the challenge is figuring out the timing on when to start and stop the curve. Last year before, I tried to have the groups do that and had varying results on the quality of what they did. But I can get extremely complicated on a lot of this. I can go into, let's see. Because it's box, you don't get the touch. You notice it says expression. So I can do all this type of logic. And pretty much any VBA I want in there when I'm doing stuff on that. All right. The downside to advanced HMI, doesn't necessarily support a lot of this natively. You can write it if you know VB or C#. Plus side is a lot of it. Do you really need it? Probably not. So I've got the PowerFlex 4 working on the conveyors over there. Sort of mostly got the 1305 working. The problem is it's being cranky and it's not letting me control it from the PLC. So with the way it's configured now, if I connect to something, what do I have wired? What do I need? I need this. And actually, I guess I can do it in here if I wanted to. So why not? All right, so come down to here. Whoops. Go away. Come down to here. Go to there. We are going to create a new configuration. I'm going to add I happen to have the 132 processor over there. And I am going to do it this way. Those were a little small. Sorry about that. Let's see if we can fix that. Come on. Bastards. Whatever. One. All right, so it's complaining about something. But I'm not sure what. So let's go back to here, let's go there, go online. It might be complaining because I haven't created any tags on the processor at this point. I'm trying to cheat and use just use the direct addressing, and it, as you can tell, it doesn't really like that. Because I've got controller tags apparently on there, but none of them are tied to what I want them to tie to. So let's do this, save it, yes, fine, whatever. Go offline, we'll do this way. 1. come in here, refresh this. Here's input one, my first input. Hopefully this won't make me a liar. This may require me to not do it this way, but to go to here. Try this. Because I'm technically doing this as an ME instead of as a regular desktop app, it might be wise complaining. Nope, it does not like something. And I'm not sure what.
Trying to control the VFD.
Yeah, I'm trying to turn on and off the inputs because I've got them physically wired. So if I turn this one on, that's not the program I thought it was. Of course, it should still allow that. Let's try that. Yes. Yes. And I should probably, now that I think about it, these are set as, okay, no, it's maintained. So I can also come in and tell it, if I get the right button type here, I can actually tell it to toggle. Oops. All time, states, caption, comment. So I can come in here and should be able to set it to toggle, and I don't see where it is at the moment, but yes. I'm trying to figure out why this is not. Why does that keep sending me back to 0? Yeah, 132 is over there. Did I wire something up to it? I don't think I did. Yeah, it's 231. That's really odd because I tested it earlier this morning and this all worked fine. Someone else connected to it?
Nope.
inputs, I want the outputs. So, go back to here. Oops, go offline. Change these to 0. Because I've been trying to get the robots to talk to the PLC, my brain has been stuck in that input mode since last night. All right, so you can hear the VFD is kicked in. If you look over there, you can tell it's actually now moving the conveyors.
Sorry, I missed it. What did you change?
I told it to stop looking at the inputs and trying to affect them and actually use the outputs the way it's supposed to. Because the outputs from the PLC have to go to the inputs of the VFD. The inputs from the PLC are going to make no difference to the VFD.
It's just like,
Total nerve brain fart. But you need to be able to configure the VFD to talk correctly. You need to use the right freaking card in the PLC. But once you do, you can then obviously control it. The downside to the VFD that we have plugged in is we don't have the expansion card on it, so we only have a limited number of presets available to us, but that's fine. If we really cared, we could get a different VFD, get an extension card. There are ways around it, or tie into it and directly wire, kind of like what I did on this VFD here. I tied it into the analog, and I just send an analog signal, and it sets the value. Or like we did on the Rexnord with the 525, which is the newer, kind of latest iteration, low-end iteration of VFDs that support it, we can do a direct connection to the VFD itself and set the parameters like we did for that. Is that making sense? So create a correctly sized one for the guys over here, but create a machine edition program to talk to that VFD. Make sure it's configured correctly. And then also try to do one out of advanced HMI. And let's have that due Monday. Turn in those two programs.
are you gonna post that on the eCoursework?
Yeah.
Or just repeat it one more time.
So we can write it down.
So control.
So you're going to control the VFD from PLC. You have to write HMIs, both Machine Edition and Factory Talk View, and an advanced HMI version that control the speed of the VFD. And I don't care what speeds they are, but it should be able to do a couple different speeds.
Would it be possible to use an HMI to control a VFD directly without a controller? Say, if you had a network VFD like that one there, do any tags exist without a controller?
I don't think so. You might, but I don't think so.
Let's do Monday.
Monday. Shouldn't take you that long.
So basically, you just have to get it to start and be able to control it.
Yeah. Start it, stop it. Then I'm going to ask you all to help me slide this green conveyor some more. But that's all I have for today.